Believe it or not, Tennis Podcast isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep. I must be out, or believe it or not, that is a myth because Tennis Podcast is in fact home right this very second. And here at home, it's me, your house host, Nick Emel. Tennis Podcast comes to you every single Wednesday with a new top tennis list, and each top 10 list is accompanied by fun facts, trivia, and hot takes. Today, my guest sidekick host is someone whom I wish was not at home. I'd rather be talking to an empty chair, and that is Dr. Buster.
Now, Nick, I get new episodes on Sundays. Why would that be? Not Wednesdays.
Because you are a Tennis Pod Plus paying member, and they get episodes a few days early every single week and ad-free.
I prefer the part of the intro where you said you're the house. You just said, and I'm everyone's house. They're just living in you.
Well, I was trying to think, what do you call someone that's like hosting a house party? That's what I was trying to say, which turns out the word is just host, which is just the word I always use to describe myself anyway. That's where I got
Don't you love in a speaking engagement or a speech when you're up in front of people and you use a word you didn't mean to, and now you know that you have to tinker with the back half of the sentence to make what you just said work?
Yeah.
It's annoying.
That's also a Michael Scott bit on The Office, yeah. Speaking of The Office, listen to our latest episode covering the best Office episodes.
I won't.
Buster, sir, you're a doctor.
Allegedly.
Allegedly a learned man.
My wife would disagree.
Your wife also a doctor, but she's actually a doctor.
I am not.
You just play
and I will agree
on
with
TV.
Her and you on that.
Buster, I'm sorry to hear you're having trouble in your marriage. I hope you guys make it, but we're not here to talk about that. I want to say, because you are a doctor, you went to all this school. Do you think that you're smarter than the rest of us?
No.
Do you think you're better than us?
No.
You don't? Well, I heard every doctor thinks they're better than us. So which is it?
In fact, what we see in psychology is that the people who are most confident are those who are just learning a new realm of information or skill. I forget exactly what the name of the effect is. But it's like, let's say you picked up a new hobby, archery. Your confidence would skyrocket as you first started to get good at archery. You're getting the first set of skills down, your confidence goes way up. But at some point you break through, you keep getting better, and you realize, oh, wow, I am such a novice. And then the confidence kind of plummets back to a realistic point.
Wow, I'm so glad you took us through that.
Yep.
Let's see how smart you really are, Buster, because I want you to answer this. Is this true or false, this question? Humans use only 10% of our brains. True or false?
False.
Would you like to elaborate?
This is a myth that we only use 10% of our brain. There's a movie with Bradley Cooper where he takes a pill. I think it's called Limitless.
Yep.
Where he unlocks the other 90%. And people think that there's this compartmentalization effect where you're only able to use a certain portion of it. It's just a myth because you can't and wouldn't utilize every part of your brain at one time because it's not necessary.
Folks, I told you he thought he was smarter than us.
If you're trying to remember what day of the week it was, it's not relevant for you to think about your aunt's birthday or what shirt she was wearing the last time you saw your aunt. In order for your 100% of your brain to light up, you'd have to be thinking about all of that irrelevant information too, which actually would be a detraction from performance. So you don't want your whole brain to be used at the same time. You wouldn't get anything done.
First of all, keep my aunt's name out of your fucking mouth, first of all. Secondly, I asked you that question and you accidentally, since if you're new to the show, the person who brings the list, that's me this week, the other person doesn't know the list ahead of time. So Buster's coming in completely blind, but he stumbled upon the exact word that is relevant to today's episode. We only use 10% of our brains is a myth. It is a misconception. It is a commonly repeated, commonly heard statement that you hear so much in your life that you take it at face value. You start to believe it. And today, we're covering that exact thing because Buster's going to guess the top 10 most commonly believed myths or misconceptions.
Across all categories.
Every myth that's ever existed, bub, but you're going to do the myths that are...
So they're not subject specific. It's not like cooking myths or psychology myths.
No. What, you get nervous?
Yeah. Well, I have to be honest. Anytime I'm guessing the list, I come to these recordings more nervous because I found in my tenure on the Tennis Pod, I'm not very good at guessing top 10 lists.
No, you're not.
I get exposed every time for my lack
yes,
of
you do.
long-term
Yep.
long-term memory in these specific realms.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah.
100% agree. We are in complete agreement on that.
That's why I prefer to host.
That's okay, because that's part of the fun. Buster, today, top 10 most commonly believed myths. Let me start with the sources. dailymail.co.
Oh, we know this is
UK.
reliable then.
bestlifeonline.com, The Independent. What's wrong? You don't want to live your best life? It's better than worstlife.com.
No, please take us to bestlifeonline.com and share with us the life wisdom they have in store.
Mediocrelifeonline.com.
Well, that's my blog.
And Wikipedia as well. So, this write-up, it says, many of the faux facts date back generations have become part of the common folklore, but are often based on rumor. However, closer inspection reveals that commonly held assumptions, such as, quote, eating cheese before bed gives you nightmares, are in fact not quite as true as they seem. I forgot about that.
I've never even heard that.
But I forgot about that.
I've just heard that if you eat anything prior to going to bed, you'll have more vivid dreams.
Does that hold true for eating ass, you think?
Oh, for sure. Okay. Can testify.
Can confirm. Got it. Okay, so these misconceptions were uncovered by, you talked about reliable sources. Here's the most reliable source in the world. Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Holy shit.
They compiled this data in 2015. A spokesman said, if you're told something enough times, you start believing it. The misconceptions in this list are all pretty plausible, so it's understandable that many Brits, this is a British survey, by the way, so a lot of weird shit on this list. It's understandable that many Brits will have read it and been certain that it's true, with many of us being told these from an early age. As our founder Robert Ripley used to say, it's often the strangest things that are true.
So this is why people think the 10-inch pod is a good show. We just heard it enough. We start believing it.
From a young age.
Yes.
Just like people are indoctrinated into religion, people these days are indoctrinated into 10-inch podcasts. You just come out of the womb, immediately headphones on. You don't ever think to question it. You don't ever think to question God or 10-inch podcast. So yeah, this survey data... Ripley's Believe It or Not surveyed a bunch of British people. The myths they believe.
And then they misspelled everything that they ranked. Here's the top 10.
Right. I think, well, you know, it's Americans that misspell it technically, but we don't need to get into that.
Oh, hot take. Shots fired across the Atlantic Ocean. We're getting canceled now.
At ourselves. I fired the shot at us. It didn't go across the Atlantic Ocean and went up in the air and then right back down on us.
Some would call that a boomerang.
I didn't throw it out, I threw it up. Like a ball being thrown up and then coming back down.
Legit question.
Do you understand physics? You're not a doctor of physics, are you?
Have you ever thrown a boomerang?
No, because I'm not fucking Chuck Norris.
Can you believe that shit works? Think about it. Think about it. Nick,
I can't do this right
it is not that different from just a regular object that wouldn't come back to you. Like truly, this is not a joke. It's not a bit. Okay, it is so
let's talk about boomerang.
It's just so crazy that it works. It's just a slightly bent U-shaped device that when you throw it at an up angle, it comes back to you. That's fucking wild.
It's wild that the sun is millions of miles away, but is still hot enough to fucking roast us every summer. It's wild that I'm sitting here with you, a learned Harvard doctor, talking about myths and misconceptions. These are all wild things, and the boomerang can join them. You're right.
I agree. Well said.
I'm just saying, if we were going to talk about everything ever that's wild, as wild as the boomerang, just change the show. Boomerang-ish podcast.
Perfect. I love it. I see many improvements.
Okay, well, these top 10 myths and misconceptions, some of them I believed myself until doing the research for this list. Some of the shit you just hear your whole life and you never think to question it because it sounds real. And all of these are very common. You've heard of them all before. But I think you'll be able to do it. Although, as we established earlier, you're like maybe the worst at guessing of every sidekick host I've ever had.
I won't argue with you on that. I feel incredibly unprepared each time.
The only thing ever that you won't argue with me on.
Like when I think about common myths, when you lead me to the guesses, I'll think, oh, of course. But getting there myself sounds so daunting.
Let me warm you and the listeners up.
Ooh, warm me up.
I got some lube here to get you all lubed up and ready to go.
I prefer friction, rough and tumble.
Jesus,
just
Buster.
be aggressive with me. I don't need the
I'm
lube.
not touching it. I'm not touching it. No. These are honorable mentions. These are not in the top 10.
Okay.
But these just like the things in the top 10. Have you ever heard that goldfish only have a 3-second memory?
Oh, okay. For sure. Yeah.
That is a myth. Some research even indicates goldfish could have a memory span of up to 5 months. It's such a huge difference, 5 months compared to 3 seconds. It just goes to show, like, it's not true, but it's repeated so many times that you just think it's true. You take it for granted.
Right.
Okay. Have you heard that George Washington had wooden teeth?
Yes.
That is a myth. His dentures were composed of ivory, gold, lead, and even other human teeth, but never any wood. They believe that this common myth is the result of the ivory becoming stained over time, giving the fake teeth the appearance of wood.
Now, he really was all bark and all bite. And I think we're done here, folks. This is a super good episode. Thank you for having me back, Nick. It's been really good.
I don't know how to recover from that. I don't know what to do. But what I was going to say before I was interrupted with that life-changing joke is that his dentures were made of ivory, gold, lead, and other human teeth. My question is, why not just make the dentures entirely out of other human teeth? If you have the human teeth available, why are we using ivory, gold, and lead when you can just use other human teeth?
So shout out to a former episode when we talked about dinosaurs. Most dinosaur skeletons you see in a museum are composites. There's some skeleton in there, but the rest of it is not. So perhaps they had some human teeth filament laying around, but because it's the fucking 1800s, they probably had to kill multiple people just to get 3 teeth out of them. They had to...
George Washington did not live in the 1800s, first of all.
I said 1700s.
You said 1800s.
Well, I said that to cover all my bases because I don't know exactly what his lifespan was.
Well, I just told you. It ended in before the 1800s. Stick with me, I'll guide you right. Now, the second thing I was going to say is, you're right. People had less teeth in the 1700s. Therefore, there's less teeth to farm and collect to repurpose into dentures. That would be true, except for the fact that people are losing teeth. That means there's teeth everywhere. There's no shortage of teeth.
They didn't have enough to fill the whole mouth, so they had to use other filaments to composite together those dentures, just like a T-Rex skeleton in the museum.
Tell you what, I'm going to fill your mouth with something if you don't stop challenging every single thing I say.
That's why you bring me back on this show. I'm the listener representative. I speak for all the listeners out there who want to interrupt you and shout down at you during every episode, but they can't.
I want all the listeners out there who are probably shuddering right now, getting chills, thinking about how offended you should be that Dr. Buster just said he's your representative. Just soak that in.
Well, it's just like the American voting system where we vote so that someone else can go in and vote on our behalf so that the next person can go in and cast our presidential ballot on our behalf. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great system. Love it. Yeah, I love that system. All right. Have you heard this common myth? Napoleon Bonaparte was very short.
Yeah. I thought he was a squeak.
It's not true. It's not true, bub. The Little Corporal's, as he was known, height was recorded in... I didn't know this was a thing, but this is what it says. His height was recorded in French feet. And that's feet, not like...
That's not French fries. French feet.
It was recorded in French feet, 5 feet 2 inches, which in English feet comes to 5 feet 7 inches. Which is in fact slightly taller than the average Frenchman at the time. So he was a little bit taller than your average French person at the time of his life.
Sure. Interesting.
You say sure as if you knew that. All right. I got a few more warm-ups for you here, covered in KY jelly. The next one is 3 kings visiting the baby Jesus when he was born. We've all heard that story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you believe it or not, the story is that 3 kings came to visit baby Jesus. This is one of the most retold stories from the Bible of all time. However, it's not true. The Bible never mentions 3 kings. It says that kings visit the baby, and elsewhere 3 gifts are described. But the exact number of kings and the belief that their names were
Jim,
Balthazar,
Stan, and Bill?
Melchior, and Casper, nowhere in the Bible. So their names nor their number mentioned in the Bible.
Damn, I didn't know Jesus' Christmas story was so scary.
Casper's a friendly ghost. He ain't scary.
Okay, yeah. Jeffrey Dahmer was just a friendly serial killer, too. I bet.
Have you never seen the movie Casper?
Couldn't make it through the opening credits. This is too scary.
Okay, you're fucking done. All right, 3 more. You'll get cramps if you go swimming right after you eat.
I always thought that shit was stupid when I was a kid. I'd eat a whole pizza, jump in, and be like, look, no cramps. Oh, fuck you. I'm good. It would always make me mad when people told me not to right after I ate because I never got cramps. I was like, what?
Semi-related is the Jerry Seinfeld bit where he talks about how when you're an adult, you realize that you can eat whatever you want whenever because you're told as a kid that you'll ruin your appetite. But as an adult, you understand you got another appetite coming right behind it. There isn't.
Yeah.
Can't ruin an appetite. Okay. In the days of Christopher Columbus, everyone thought the world was flat. Have you heard this?
Well, some people still think the earth is flat.
Well, that's true. But allegedly, around 500 BC, the ancient Greek philosopher Pythagoras was the first person to propose the theory that the earth was flat. But not long thereafter, in the middle of the 3rd century BC, listener of the show Aristotle declared with certainty that the earth was in fact spherical. And though it might have taken a bit for everyone to come around to the reality that our planet is, well, round, except those Buster said today, Christopher Columbus wasn't one of the naysayers. When he sailed around the ocean in 1492, he knew the earth was a sphere. And in fact, historian Jeffrey Burton Russell says that with extraordinary few exceptions, no educated person in the history of Western civilization from the 3rd century BC onward believed the earth was flat. I'd heard all my life, until like a year ago, that Columbus and everyone from that time thought the earth was flat.
Wild.
So Jeffrey Burton Russell throwing shade on everyone today that believes the earth is flat. And my last one to warm you up is touching a toad will give you warts. Have you heard that?
You know, I was suspicious of that in recent years, but it's a myth.
How many warts did you rub on your dick to test this theory out?
Today? Or?
Yeah. Today.
Don't remember.
Don't remember, okay.
I cannot confirm nor deny.
This rumor was probably originated from the fact that toads themselves have wart-like bumps on their skins, but they're just glands that don't secrete anything that can cause warts. So there it is.
Damn.
You have 10 more myths like those that are the most commonly held today.
Oh, God, this is going to be hard. It's like, I don't even know what direction to go in or...
Straight. Move forward, Buster.
Yes. All right, I'm going to throw out general types of thoughts and then just tell me if I'm on the right track, and that'll have to lead me to one, I think. What about eating stuff? Myths around if I eat a certain thing, it'll do a certain thing for me.
Yes.
There's at least one of those.
Think about children and hyper children.
That if we feed children sugar, it will make them hyper.
Did you know that's a myth?
I did not. I thought that was bona fide concern.
Well, that's why you're listening to Tennis Podcast, fam. We are edutaining you. Giving children sugar makes them hyper is the 10th most commonly believed myth.
Knew it.
According to the survey from academic historians Ripley's Believe It or Not, they determined that 46% of those surveyed believed this to be true, which is actually lower than I thought, because I think everyone thinks this, right? Okay, so there are some people that still stand by this belief. It says here, while some experts do stand by this common belief, other professors claim that the majority of scientific research has concluded that sugar does not cause hyperactivity in youngsters. Double-blind trials have shown no difference in behavior between children given sugar-full or sugar-free diets, even in studies specifically looking at children with attention deficit disorder or those considered sensitive to sugar. There it is. There you go. Not a ton of conclusive evidence that sugar leads to hyperactivity in children.
So you think when adults say they feel a sugar rush, there might be a bit of a placebo effect going on there? They expect to feel hyper right after?
That's a good question, because my next note is that a 2019 analysis found no positive effect of sugar consumption on mood, like we just talked about, but it did find an association with lower alertness and increased fatigue within an hour of consumption, known as sugar crash. So it sounds like sugar making you hyper, there's no scientific evidence that points to that. But there is scientific evidence that points to a sugar crash.
Yeah.
But I still hear this to this day.
Sure.
Buster, is there a ingredient that we could give you, not to get you more hyper, but to get you to shut the fuck up?
Or take another guess. Are there any other food-related myths? If I eat something, it will have an effect on us.
Nothing about an effect, but there are food-related things on here. Not specifically about eating food, but just food.
What about if you eat right before bedtime, it'll be bad for you and make you gain weight?
Is that not true?
I'm hoping that's a myth.
I don't have that on my list.
Because I eat right before bed every day.
Buster, what? I know why you do it. It's because you don't want to be hungry when you are sleeping. Guys,
it's like
I need the listeners to understand for a minute.
It's like a little comfort blanket for your boy. I love to snack in the evening times. It's a weakness.
And that's ironic since Buster's in better shape than me or any of our friends. But those who know Buster, like Alex and Steven and myself, he is a man that his whole life is built around his next meal. Am I wrong?
No.
Every decision Buster makes, there's some calculation in that decision of how it will affect his next chance to eat.
I spend way too much time thinking about what I'm going to eat, when I'm going to eat, how it's going to be eaten, how it will affect the next meal,
how it will affect your butt,
how full I'll be by the time bedtime comes around.
And look, it's normal for humans to have thoughts like this from time to time. But I'm telling you that this is Buster's primary decision-making process. Okay, nothing about bedtime on here. Let's do number 9. So the sugar thing was 10. Number 9 is the belief that a certain type of food fits within a category of food. It's wrong. This isn't it, but sort of like people will debate whether a tomato is a fruit or a vegetable. Something like that.
So it's not that a tomato is a vegetable. Because it's actually a fruit, right?
It's not that.
Because that's seeds.
I think so.
Or wait, no, it's an apple is a vegetable.
What the fuck? If you try to tell me an apple's a vegetable again, I will come over there and beat your fucking ass. I don't want to hear that shit ever again.
Okay.
I will not accept it.
Is it in the fruit-vegetable dichotomy?
All right, I'm just going to tell you. I don't think you're going to guess it. It is the 9th most commonly held believed myth that peanuts are a type of nut. They are, in fact...
Well, help up. What are they?
They belong, along with peas and beans, they belong to a single plant family, luminos. I think it's legumes.
Legumes, yeah. Well, they're not called pea legumes. They're called peanuts. So whoever's in charge of peanut marketing needs to be fired.
Or just language in general. Who do we talk to about naming this shit in such a way that is intentionally confusing to us? Okay, and there's another one of these, and this one will hit close to home. It's number 1, but what are you drinking right now, bub?
Coffee?
Yeah, what is a common...
Oh, that a coffee bean is a bean?
Yeah. Did you know that? That it's not?
What is it?
While it is widely believed that coffee comes from, quote, coffee beans, experts say it is actually made from a seed, which is called a bean.
So it's a coffee seed?
Yeah. 74% of those surveyed believe that coffee comes from beans.
Like how carrots and beets are actually the root of the plant?
I'm no expert, but yeah, that sounds right.
So it's the seed. Well, why are they called
seeds?
Beans?
Well, maybe we got to talk to the same motherfucker that's calling peanuts peanuts. They should be pea legumes. Or how about we just don't use the word pea in anything, since it reminds us of A, the letter P, and B, my fucking piss. And my penis.
My whole world is a lie. Coffee beans aren't seeds and peanuts aren't nuts. Like, I didn't know I was going to have an existential crisis 30 minutes into this episode.
You're welcome.
Well,
Buster, have you ever been with someone? Have you?
No, I've never seen another human being. You're the first human I've ever seen.
Have you ever been with a woman that asked to see your little peanut?
I've never been with a woman, that's for sure. Who's asked to see my peanut?
Yeah.
And I said, these aren't nuts, baby. These are legumes.
Next time someone tries to call your testicles nuts, you tell them they're legumes.
Yeah, so that's a common myth. I got legumes attached to my penis.
I wonder why they're called nuts anyway, like for slang for balls. Or why are they called balls? Well, they're testicles. Nuts? I get why they're called balls, but why are they called nuts?
Well, funny enough, you could call them seeds. I mean, the whole seed.
They're more like seeds.
Give me my seed, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's an interesting thought.
I'll be the judge of that.
Outside of the English language, in Dutch, German, Japanese, French, Spanish, I wonder if these same
Wait. I'm confused. I need you to name more languages. Portuguese, Italian.
In these other languages, I wonder if peanuts are, if they're called that, if they're confusing in a nut category, or if coffee beans are called beans and they're actually like called, closer to the seed. I'd be interested to know that.
I don't know. And I'll tell you, I'm not going to take the time to look, but it is an interesting thought for sure.
Like in every language, is the fruit orange the same exact word as the color orange?
I doubt it.
And I learned a couple years ago that in some languages, that's not the case.
Yeah, because why would it be? That's the thing about the English language. I've heard it's the hardest language to learn as a second language. For the English language, you have the same word and it can mean 6 different things, even if it's spelled the exact same way. Like the color orange and the fruit orange are both spelled the same way.
Right.
And it's also a super uncreative word for a fruit. Oh, look, it's orange. Let's name it orange. How come we didn't name the apple red? Or how come we didn't name a banana yellow? Because there was more thought put into it.
Just like when you ask your significant other, are you fine? And they say, yeah, I'm fine. But we all know that fine can mean 100 different things.
And I was asking if they're fine, like fine, like
hey,
hot,
baby,
like
you
sexy.
fine.
You want to see my legumes?
Or does she think that you mean detailed, very fine, small, intricate?
Somehow I doubt that interpretation would be held. But I get your point, you idiot.
Well, wrong of you.
Let's do one more food-ish related thing. Number 8 has to deal with the process of eating something. I don't know how to say it any other way than that.
That if you don't chew your food enough, it will be more likely to cause a heart attack? I think that's true.
It's not that, and I was just trying to think if that's true or not. But it's not that. It's different parts of your tongue detects different tastes.
Oh.
Some people think that, and the survey from Ripley's Believe It or Not says 50% of people believe this. They think that you taste sour on one side of your tongue and spicy on another, etc. Not true. This was scientifically disproven by research which found that all taste sensations come from all regions of the tongue, although different parts are more sensitive to certain tastes, which may be where the popular saying comes from.
Sure. I think the different types of taste bud receptors are all intermingled amongst one another.
I'm going to intermingle your ass with this summary of the list so far. We have 10, giving children sugar makes them hyper. Number 9, people think peanuts are a type of nut. It's not true. Number 8, different parts of your tongue detect different tastes. And number 1, coffee is made from beans. Psst. Want to skip ads like that in the future? Go to tennishpod.com/plus. Sign up and you'll never hear an ad on Tennish Podcast again. I have a few submitted from listeners, so I'm just going to read a few.
Okay.
I asked my followers on Twitter and Instagram at the Nick Emel. I said, what are some common myths you believed for way too long? Jack on Instagram says, never believe anyone that tells you to use the 5-second rule for food. You know how they say, if you pick
but
up
isn't
food
it true that the longer it's on the ground, the more bacteria? So that there's not a 5-second threshold, but the longer it's there, the more submerged into bacteria it's going to be?
I mean, I assume that's true. I don't know. I mean, that makes sense logically, but the gist is that some people think that if you pick it up within 5 seconds, well, there's no way it had enough time to collect germs and bacteria and all that, which is not true. It's absolutely true.
Yeah, just drop a cracker in a puddle of human shit for less than 5 seconds. Pick it up. Nothing. It's scot-free. Eat it.
Okay. Advice from the doctor, Dr. Buster. Doctoral advice. Drop your crackers. Crackers of all things. Drop your crackers in human shit. You got 5 seconds to get that shit in your mouth.
5-second rule. Pick it up. Eat it.
I want you, listener, to know that if you pick up food off the floor and eat it, I don't care how long it's been there, you are no longer welcome to listen to the show. Please unsubscribe. 2 more from listeners that I will read. Calvin on Twitter says, does Marilyn Manson having his ribs removed to be able to S his own D count? Somehow everyone in the 90s knew this was an absolute fact. I remember hearing that, and I thought it was true. Do you remember hearing that?
Yes.
That Mr. Marilyn Monroe would suck his own D? Not true. And the last one comes from Simon on Twitter. I before E except after C as a spelling rule. That is not true once you realize the words seas, height, albeit, and fright all have E before I.
I think it works more commonly than not, so I think I'll still follow that as a good heuristic.
Of course, the former teacher is on the teacher's side on this one. Big surprise. All right, well then I need you to give me more guesses.
More guesses. Okay, we've tapped all the food misconceptions.
Well, I wouldn't say we tapped all the food misconceptions. I'd say I told you the food misconceptions and marked them off my list.
See,
Yes.
that itself is a misconception. Okay, anything related to dreams or sleeping?
No.
Any good luck charms in the list? Beliefs about something making you lucky or unlucky?
No.
Nothing with the number 13? We talked about that in our last episode.
No.
Black cats. Anything related to that? Superstitions.
I'm confused. Are your ears not working today? Are you having trouble comprehending? You asked if there's anything lucky or unlucky, and I told you the answer is no. And so what do? Your next two guesses have to do with luck. You can ask me about broken mirrors next?
Is there something about sitting too close to the television will give you radiation? Or that microwaves emit radiation if you touch them? Or if there's an object on top of it? My mom thought for the longest time that her brother came down with cancer because he laid his wallet on the microwave in his house. And I remember growing up as a kid like, oh shit, I should not get too close to a microwave. But when I got older, I learned how dumb that was.
You listen to the show. Buster's mom, God bless her.
Known for her misconceptions.
Honestly, we should do a top 10 list of just the shit our parents said to us. Because who is the main source of our commonly held myths and misconceptions? It's our fucking stupid parents.
Dude, there's so many things in my mid-30s I'm still figuring out are not necessarily true that my mom told me growing up, that I just took as fact.
Name another one. Maybe it's on the list.
What about that getting to a dark place will get rid of a headache?
No, but let's talk about the head.
Okay.
Something with the head is on here. Anything else come to mind?
I mean, you're not going to talk about phrenology, are you? Where different parts of the brain indicate certain functions, and so people would think you were intelligent or not based on the shape of your skull?
Is that why people think you're intelligent when you're not, Buster? Because of the shape of your ass? All right, I'm going to give you number 6. You lose your body heat fastest through your head.
Oh, that's a myth.
53% believe this. While this is widely believed to be true, some experts say it is a myth and claim humans could be just as cold if they went without a hat as if they went out without trousers.
I think the torso is your main sense of heat, right? That's what's most important.
I'll tell you the thing that gets cold on me first, my fucking legumes.
My legumes.
Okay, have you gotten in a cold body of water and it's all rough, but when you really feel it as a man is when the balls touch the cold water. And then it's cold. Am I wrong?
Sure. No, but I think when you're trying to preserve body heat, as long as your torso is warm, the blood can circulate out to the extremities, but then it comes back in, gets re-warmed up, and says, ooh, we're ready to go back outside again.
Are you speaking facts or are you just guessing?
I'm 60% sure what I just said is true.
Great, 60%. Great odds. The head accounts for around 7 to 9% of the body's surface, and studies have shown that having one's head submerged, not up your ass, but in cold weather, only causes a person to lose 10% more heat overall. And the myth likely comes from a flawed U.S. military experiment in 1950 involving a prototype Arctic survival suit where the head was one of the few body parts left exposed.
I will not let you tarnish the reputation of America's military service, Nick. So I'd like you to take that back. This is the freest country of all, damn it. You can't be saying that about our military.
God bless America.
But not the other 200 and something countries. Fuck them all, I guess.
Buster, God has blessed this country. He works in mysterious ways. Speaking of all the countries on Earth, let's talk about the Earth.
Okay.
What is a commonly held misconception about the Earth? We already talked about the flat thing. It's not that.
I just heard this yesterday. That many people think the seasons are caused by distance from the sun.
Is that not true?
You're joking, right?
Seasons are caused by
the angle of sunlight.
Is that basically the same thing as the distance, right? I mean, I know angle and distance aren't quite the same, but...
So if we thought that winter was caused by the Earth being furthest from the sun, how would it be summer in the other hemisphere?
Because of the way the Earth is facing, because it's also rotating or spinning.
Sure. Yeah, the seasons are caused by the distance that the sun has to travel through the atmosphere. It's the pitch. The Earth is, I think, actually closest to the sun in its orbit during like spring, fall time. But it's the angle, it's the pitch of sunlight that causes seasons.
I don't believe this propaganda. I choose to believe it is the will of God to bring new life in the spring and old life in the winter. It's not that, but it has to do with the Earth and the sun. It is that the Earth revolves around the sun. And this one is confusing to me. The myth is that the Earth revolves around the sun. This says that technically, the Earth, Sun, and all of the other planets are orbiting around the center of mass of the solar system, not specifically the sun.
Okay. Yeah, sure, but...
That's a technicality. I don't know about that one.
Yeah, they are, but the whole unit is also revolving around another object.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if I had a tennis ball on a string and I was spinning in a circle.
A tennis ball, you say?
Yeah. Whether or not I'm moving around another object myself, the tennis ball is still in rotation around me. So I'm not buying this one. Get it off the list.
Well, Buster, are you sure you want to go toe-to-toe with Ripley's, believe it or not, on their data?
Give me Ripley's address, and they'll believe it or not when I show up at their house and deliver a nice, fresh can of ass whooping.
A can of whoop ass is what you're supposed to say. Oh, man, this is embarrassing. Oh, God. Okay, so let's talk about space and Earth and shit some more. What is something...
Hold on, what number on the list did they say that was?
That was 7.
Not buying it, for the record.
Well, luckily, the world doesn't revolve around you, and we don't have to take what you say is true or not.
No, but it does revolve around the sun.
No, it revolves around the center of... What'd it say? The center of mass of the solar system, you ignorant ass. God, you're stupid. You thought it revolved around the sun? Idiot.
Wait. We could be wrong, actually. What if the center of mass for our solar system is slightly off from the sun? And people out there who know more about astronomy than us are like, you fucking idiots.
Well, that's what they're saying, I think, that the sun is middle-ish in the solar system, but we don't technically revolve around it. We revolve around the center of mass. And look, I could be wrong on this shit. I don't know.
I redact my strong opinion. I would like to know more information. Put it that way.
Let's get that nerd Alex Jones on here to tell us. He'd know. Steven would know too, I bet.
Well, if we want to see a smooth sphere object like the Earth or the Sun, we'll just have Alex Jones show us that silky smooth bum of his.
They don't get smoother. They do not get smoother. I'd put my life savings on it. You will not find a smoother bum.
Creamy peanut butter? Dreams it could be as smooth.
Mm-hmm. All right, Buster, I want to ask you for number 4.
Yeah.
What is something that you've been told all your life is the only man-made object you can see from space?
The pyramids.
The Great Wall of China.
Oh.
We've been told is the only man-made thing you can see from space.
But you can't, right?
Space.
Or can you see many man-made
No, you can't see it. 54% believe this, but it's not true because none of the Apollo astronauts reported seeing any specific human-made objects from the moon, and even Earth-orbiting astronauts can only see it with magnification. City lights, however, are easily visible on the night side of Earth from orbit.
Yeah. So that was number 4?
Yeah, but aren't city lights man-made? Maybe that should count.
Yeah, but each individual light is a man-made object. If you group them together in mass quantities, I don't know if that's a single man-made object.
You're right. So if you have a toy, that's a man-made object. But if you have a bunch of toys in one place, you're right. They're no longer man-made objects. They become something else. You're right.
It's not a man-made object. The point of the myth is like, it's one mass that's so big, so impressive, so massive, it's seen from space. But of course,
all right, like, masshole.
One grain of sand, minuscule, can't see it. You put millions of pieces of sand together, of course you can see it. That's nothing to write home about. We talk about this myth because it's supposed to be impressive that one single object itself can be seen. Not a bunch of things put together. That's not impressive. We all know that.
Are you done with your lecturing?
Hell, bub, the ocean's just a bunch of different drops of water put together.
And for more on the ocean, listen to our episode on the largest bodies of water on Earth with Alex Johns. And this is a great segue, sir, because number 3 has to deal with the Earth and the ocean. And other shit too, but they're involved. What's the tallest mountain on Earth?
Mount Everest.
Wrong. That's the myth.
Oh.
You need to take a long, hard look in the mirror at your fucking assumptions about the
There's
world.
a taller mountain that is under the ocean or originates in the ocean?
That's it, bub. Number 3, Mount Everest is not the tallest mountain in the world, even though 57% of Brits believe it. Because while Mount Everest is officially deemed the tallest mountain in the world, experts claim that technically it may not be. The summit of Everest is officially higher above sea level than the summit of any other mountain, but Mauna Kea is the tallest when measured from base to summit.
And where is it located?
I don't know. Who gives a shit?
Nice.
Let's look. Mauna Kea.
How do you spell that?
Mauna space Kea. It is an inactive volcano on the island of Hawaii.
So it starts in the ocean?
I'm looking.
Wow. That's crazy looking.
Usually its wet prominence is 15th in the world among mountains. Its dry prominence is greater than Mount Everest's height above sea level, and some authorities have labeled Mauna Kea the tallest mountain in the world from its underwater base. Yeah. So if you were to go underwater to its base all the way to its top, it's taller than Everest.
Damn. It's beautiful.
Damn. This was number 3, by the way, on the list.
Listeners should look up pictures of this volcano. It's just really neat. Cool. The more you know. We got 2 remaining, number 5 and number 2.
Yeah, number 5 and 2.
Are they related in some way?
The only relation they have is they're both animal related.
Okay, so they are myths that like a certain animal does something.
One of them tracks exactly with that. The other one's a little more vague. Let's start with number 2. It's just like you said. It is assumed that an animal does something for a certain reason, and it's not true. And it's not, Buster, that it's okay to fuck horses like you've asked me.
Is it that birds get quiet when a storm's coming in?
No.
By the way, I was listening to an audiobook recently, and there was a chapter about animal senses. Blew my mind. There's this radical story about elephants and an impending tsunami that was coming in to shore. And like an hour before the waves hit the beaches and killed a bunch of people, all the elephants and animals got the hell out of there. And the humans didn't know what was going on. And then the tsunami waves hit. Crazy. And there were some people on elephant tours out in the jungle.
Oh.
And because the elephants took off, the people lived.
Wow. That's crazy.
It just
Where
nuts.
was that?
I don't remember exactly where. It was a few years ago.
In other words, you're only using 10% of your brain to not be able to recall where it was. Nice.
Okay, what animal is the myth about?
I can't tell you because it'll give it away immediately, but it's, all right, I'll tell you. Since we don't want to be here all day, I certainly don't. This is number 2. The animal is a chameleon.
Okay, so that a chameleon can change its colors? Or that it can mirror the environment right behind it?
Right there. The number 2 myth, believed by 69% of those surveyed.
Hey,
Nice.
Yeah, boy.
They believe that chameleons change color to match their surroundings. I believed this as well, but it's not true. They actually change color as a response to mood, temperature, communication, and light instead of the object they're touching.
So they just happen to get lucky a lot of the time to be camouflaged?
I don't know. It sounds that way. Any chameleons out there want to let me know?
The chameleon's like, I'm on some red sand right now. I need to make myself pissed off. And it gets super angry, and so then it turns red and matches the sand.
It just thinks about the latest list that Dr. Buster brought to Tennis Podcast. Oh, that list sucked. And if it needs to get turned on, then it thinks about, I don't know, your fucking mom.
Man, can you imagine if human beings change color based on their mood and internal state? Like, that would be very unfortunate in many ways.
I mean, it would be unfortunate if it happened overnight, but if it had always been that way since the beginning of humankind, then it would be no different. By the way, coming back to your mom believing that wallet, And since I know your mom, I know she would say it with such conviction. That it happened. Buster's shaking his head right now.
Oh, no. I plead the fifth.
Okay. Buster, if humans could change colors, why is it that you would constantly change your color to brown?
Because I'd be thinking of shit talking everyone.
Okay. All right. You just need number 5. And the animal
Number
in
5.
question here is a dog, a doggy.
Oh,
Canine.
dogs. Canines. That they can sense when you're scared of them.
No, that's definitely true. Why are you trying to take that away from dogs?
That they're good judge of character.
I think that's true too. What do people think about dogs as it relates to human life?
Oh, that like wolves chose to be
No.
around.
A human year is equal to how many dog years?
Oh, that's the myth. The dog years myth?
What's the number?
7.
7. The myth is that 1 human year is equivalent to 7 dog years. 54% of people believe this. And while it is true in some cases, most of the time it does not apply because it very much depends on the size and the breed of the dog. I think this one shouldn't be included in the list because it's technically semi-true, you know? But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it hits at the general idea that dogs have a shorter life expectancy, but it's hard to quantify that ratio into a solid
And
number.
I think they just use 7 as kind of just like a general baseline. Like it's not,
The
not meant
average.
to be the gospel.
Right. I agree with you. I think it still can hold up.
Yeah.
If we looked at everything that people said with such scrutiny, like we just did the number 7 dog years to human years, I think many things we assume to be true would be revealed to not be as true as we think.
It's true that that's true, Buster. You don't want to challenge this one like
if
you
the
did.
listeners out there have ever tried to Google and find out how many milligrams of caffeine are in a certain amount of coffee grounds, good fucking luck. Because
Buster.
I tried. And all the answers vary so widely because of all the roasting processes, the different types of coffee grounds. There's no definitive way to know how much caffeine you're getting if you're making a brew at home. There are some things out there the internet hasn't been able to provide a clear-cut answer for. And folks, I'm here to tell you that's still one of them.
Well, as fascinating as that is, I'm here to tell you that the internet has given us the top 10 most commonly believed myths, courtesy of Ripley's Believe It or Not. You have number 10, giving children sugar makes them hyper. I'd say personally, that's the one I hear repeated most often in my everyday life. Number 9, that peanuts are a type of nut. And again, we take umbrage with whichever asshole decided the word for peanut should be peanut. Number 8, different parts of your tongue detect different tastes. Number 7, the earth revolves around the sun, which Buster took great issue with the scientific community on this one. He thinks he knows more than them.
At first.
Number 6, you lose your body heat fastest through your dome, your head. Number 5, 1 human year is equivalent to 7 dog years. Number 4, the Great Wall of China can be seen from space. Number 3, Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. Number 2, chameleons change color to match their surroundings. And number 1, coffee is made from beans. In fact, it's made from seeds. There you go.
I love that of all the myths about humanity and things that could be consequential, number 1 on this list that Ripley decided to go out there and tackle was whether coffee beans are beans.
Yeah. Well, Buster, if coffee was eliminated from the planet overnight, how much trouble would you be in?
A lot.
Okay. Good to know.
I'd be on 24-hour watch for at least a week as I detox.
You'd still be planning your
myself.
next meal, though, even in the middle of your detox.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'd probably focus even more heavily on my next meal because I'd be in such disarray. Be so upset.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. We hope that we educated you on some of the myths you hold dear to your heart and what your mommy and pappy told you all your life. No, you didn't get cancer because your wallet was on the microwave. Buster,
But we can't be sure.
We can't be sure. You're absolutely right.
It's funny how many myths and wives' tales will live on just because it doesn't come up in conversation at the right time, or you're not supplied with the right evidence to prove you wrong.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying. You kind of just take it at face value because who's going to go look up in the moment of a conversation like, oh, can you really see the Great Wall of China?
But this is how myths can die easier now that we all have a smartphone in our pocket. We have access to the internet. We can Google things immediately. In 1800, 1700, if you and I had a conversation about something, many times we'd have no way to verify if either of us was wrong or not.
Well, in the 1800s, we could have just went and asked George Washington, according to you.
And then he just would have fucking bit off the next tree with his wooden teeth. And
that makes sense because his teeth are made out of wood. He cuts trees. Sure. What you said is technically true, that we have the power of the internet to give us instant knowledge at any one time, but that doesn't seem to help so many people, including election deniers and QAnon believers and everything else that are using. It's actually pretty incredible when you think about how that phenomenon comes to be despite this age of knowledge we live in. And a big part of it is because the internet has so much conflicting information.
Yeah. What did I hear? A quippy quote this week. Their internet provides virtually everything except for quality control.
Damn. If there's ever been something to tattoo on your body, it's that. All right, let's end this. Buster, do you have any parting words for our dear, dear folks at home?
I wish us all luck in discovering the things our parents told us was grounded truth that you will or will not someday discover is utter shit.
Utter shit. You heard it here first. He's Buster, I'm Nick. I'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.